Alright, so Nintendo Switch Online is getting an expansion pack, which is going to have N64 and Genesis games, as we all know, but the lineup is probably a little less than desirable. We're getting 9 N64 games at launch, with a handful of extras promised, which is nowhere near as many as the previous systems that have launched on Nintendo Switch Online service. So that got me thinking, what games would be good? Because I was a little disappointed with the lineup. What games would I want to be added to this lineup? So I have 10 games in no particular order, and they're kind of picked in a combination of, one, would this be good to leverage the services of Nintendo Switch Online in terms of like multiplayer? 2, how does it compare to games that are already on the NES and SNES? Like, is there a gap that needs to be filled? And 3, just quality N64 games that I think would be appreciated by people. So this is my list. Let me know what you guys would pick if you picked different. But let's start with Super Smash Bros. So I know Super Smash Bros. For the N64 is probably either at the bottom of people's Smash Brothers lists, that or Brawl is at the bottom, and Smash Bros. N64 is second from the bottom. Regardless, I think it's still quite a bit of fun. It's kind of a laugh, if anything, just to see where everything started, right? I mean, it's so old compared to what Ultimate is now. It would be, I think, pretty fun. I don't think it would detract from anyone playing Ultimate. I mean, these are like 25 years apart in terms of their advancements. So yeah, I think Smash 64 would be super, and it would leverage NSO. You could have 4-player Smash Bros fun. It could be great. Next is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. So I know this is not by any stretch of the imagination the best iteration of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 because of soundtrack. I also understand that it would probably be pretty hard to get the soundtrack on here, but hey, it is on Metacritic's top games of all time by a long shot. It's like one of the best games ever made, universally loved. It is still playable. Its arcadey goodness still works really well 20 some odd years later, and it's just great fun. Great quick fun too, which would be great for the Switch's portability. 2-minute runs, super. So I really liked Rayman 2 as a platformer. I actually really liked Rayman 3 on the GameCube as well. I just like Rayman, but I think Rayman 2 The Great Escape was actually really solid, and while it may not have gotten the love that Banjo-Kazooie and Mario 64 did, I think it is right up there in terms of a competent 3D platformer. I've actually played this on a couple systems, from the DS to the 3DS to the N64, and I just think it's a fun 3D platformer that holds up surprisingly well, where a lot of 3D platformers of that era did not. Next up is Harvest Moon 64. Admittedly, a big part of the reason that this is on here is because Harvest Moon for the Super Nintendo is not on the Super Nintendo's lineup. I really wish it was. I love the series Harvest Moon. I think a lot of people would be interested in seeing some of the earlier Harvest Moons given Stardew Valley's resurgence, and the Harvest Moon games are typically harder to come by from a collector's item. I'm looking at you, Super Nintendo version, but Harvest Moon 64, probably not my favorite Harvest Moon, but it's certainly a respectable outing, and I think it's a nice casual game. It's got nice casual vibes. I mean, I guess so does Pokemon Snap, but I think it fills a niche that could use filling, frankly, for a casual-oriented player base that Nintendo pushes for on their consoles all the time. Next up is kind of surprising that this isn't on here. I actually had to double-check 2 or 3 times already, and that is Mario Party. Any of them, all of them, doesn't matter, but Mario Party is great. I mean, it's super great. It's multiplayer goodness. It's Mario Party. Maybe they're waiting for the Mario Party to come out this holiday season, the one that's basically a remake of 1, 2, or 3. Actually, that's probably why they're not pushing this one out, period. But we should get Mario Party 1, 2, and or 3, and it would be super fun to play online, be super fun to play locally. Mario Party is great fun, guys, and it would be super fun to revisit kind of the OG ones, even if the first one maybe has a little too much joystick abuse for these drifting Joy-Con. Next up is Diddy Kong Racing. So I know Diddy Kong Racing, a lot of people probably favor Mario Kart 64 over Diddy Kong Racing, but I can make an argument for Diddy Kong Racing, if only to, one, try something new, and two, because Diddy Kong Racing has a single-player campaign, like a story mode, like a proper adventure mode that Mario Kart 64 just doesn't have. So I think that combined with, it's not just a kart racer, you know, there's like planes and stuff. It's different. It's significantly different, significantly more ambitious, I would say, than Mario Kart 64. I think it would be great. And we already got the Donkey Kong Country Trilogy on the Super Nintendo, so kind of hoping that Diddy and Donkey might make a return back. And don't worry, I'm not done talking about Rare, but for now, let's move on to Resident Evil 2. This is a similar kind of situation from Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Plus and minus some stuff. So it's similar to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, where this is the N64 version is by far not the strongest version that you can play, even of its era. The PlayStation 1 version, for example, the Dreamcast version, the GameCube version, all superior versions. However, it is still a game worth playing. It's considered one of, if not the best, Resident Evils. I mean, not including the remake, just this original release. And I think it would be really cool to see Leon and Claire back in their polygon goodness, especially since we're not getting the RE2 remake on the Switch from the looks of it. So this would be kind of an interesting way to get Resident Evil on the Switch besides just Resident Evil 4. And the only thing that's kind of making me hesitant on this is that it is a rated M game. I don't know if they could get it re-rated to T, considering... And we're going to talk about a few other M-rated games, so this is going to stand true, this kind of point, where I don't know if they want to advertise M-rated games on their online kind of Netflix library, but there are going to be some M-rated games for the last three. So next up is Perfect Dark, another Rare-developed game. So I'm putting in Perfect Dark instead of GoldenEye because I think GoldenEye is kind of just definitely not going to happen. I mean, they've had issues re-releasing this on Xbox's end, on the Xbox Arcade. They've had canceled remasters. I mean, this game, they've had fan projects get shut down. It's very hard to re-release GoldenEye, so Perfect Dark is the next best thing. That IP is very clearly owned. Microsoft owns it. It's not some Hollywood blockbuster. And Microsoft and Nintendo have worked well, at least in terms of getting characters like Banjo, etc. on Smash Bros. And stuff. So I think Perfect Dark is a totally valid game, and it is probably the best alternative to GoldenEye. It would work super well for Switch Online or for party, you know, four-person mayhem. And I think Perfect Dark has a pretty decent campaign. I mean, it's a very early first-person shooter, so it is rough around the edges, but for an N64 first-person shooter, it's not going to get much better than Perfect Dark, that's for sure. Next up is a sports game. I know we already had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, but I think 1080 snowboarding is a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun playing it as a kid. This is kind of like a YOLO pick. This is like one of only a handful of sports games I can remember fondly as a kid. It's just crazy snowboarding action. You're snowboarding down mountains, and you know you're crashing. It's great. You're running into trees, having a great time. It is a solid snowboarding game with some pretty solid music, and it's no Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, but I think in terms of actually getting the game, I think 1080 snowboarding might be the one to root for. Last but not least is Conker's Bad Fur Day, and this is kind of a stretch, obviously. One, because of its infamy, it's an M-rated game and it doesn't hold any punches, at least for its era. I don't think it's as bad now. I still think Nintendo might not want to be advertising M-rated games on this service for some reason. But it's a mature game. It didn't sell well. It has a cult following. The cart is extremely expensive, which is part of why I think this would be beneficial. And I think the N64 version is largely considered to be better than the Xbox remake from back in the day. So I think if we could get a good port of it on Switch Online, this would probably be the preferred way to play Conkers, and that would be excellent and probably worth the service on its own, unless you're willing to shell out for that cart. But yeah, those are my games. If you have other games, let me know what you think. That is all. I will catch you next time.